Today I'd like to talk with you about harbouring anger, resentment and bitterness. Because one of the things I've learned over the years, hanging on to these emotions is a lot like drinking poison and expecting somebody else to die. And what you don't realise is that you're actually poisoning yourself. So today I want to tell you a story about somebody I know, and I also want to give you some ideas on how, if you are harbouring or holding on to anger and resentment, how you can begin to tackle this to make your own life better and also potentially those around you as well. So I want to tell you a story about my friend Jim. That's not his name, but that's what I'm going to call him. And Jim, wife, 3 kids. And a few years ago, Jim injured himself in doing a sport. It never properly healed, and he's been in chronic pain ever since. Not long after he hurt himself, he lost his job, got made redundant. And over the last couple of years, Jim's just got himself into a downward spiral where he's angry, he's frustrated, and I get it, I really do, that things weren't going his way. And then he accused his wife of having an affair. Now, I know his wife, she's lovely, absolutely devoted to him and the family. She didn't do this, but he was absolutely convinced, despite the fact that he'd got no evidence whatsoever. There was none of his friends who would corroborate what he was trying to say and what he was accusing her of. In fact, people were saying the opposite, trying to tell him that no, this isn't real. But no, he persisted with this viewpoint, and just over a year ago, or about a year ago, he left his family. Now, I've tried talking with Jim, suggesting that, maybe this anger isn't very well placed. Maybe he should consider things differently. But no, he's absolutely determined that he's in the right and he's done the right thing. Now, unfortunately, through his anger, he's unable to see the damage that he's caused to his family. And he no longer speaks to me because I dare to confront him. I dared, as a friend, as a real friend should in my view, dare to suggest that what he's doing isn't right. The way he's thinking isn't correct. And I found out also that he's disconnecting himself from anybody who's going to tell him the truth. Anybody who's going to dare to say, mate, what you're doing is wrong. So what he's in the process of doing through all of this bitterness and all of this anger is disconnecting himself from those who are quite frankly going to tell him the truth. He's surrounding himself with people who are only going to tell him what he wants to hear. And that's only ever going to be fueling the fire of his anger, even if his anger is just plain wrong and misplaced. But what he doesn't realise in his anger and all the things that he's done, I'm not going to go into too much detail, but he's not been very nice to his wife. He's done his best to try and get his relationship with his kids, but they're wary because he left. And over time, he will destroy these relationships. This anger will undermine all love. And this is one thing that people who are angry don't understand. Anger, resentment and bitterness undermines all love. You can't love somebody if you're harbouring all these emotions. It's a bit like love is the tree, but all this anger and stuff is undermining the roots, and eventually the tree will die. So if you're in this situation, and to be honest, I've kind of been in this situation myself, where you've got all this anger and you're harbouring these resentments, there's a few things I'd like you to begin to ask yourself to question this. Now, the big question is to ask yourself, why are you angry? What are you angry about? Now, it doesn't matter. The answer to this doesn't really matter. It could be, I'm angry because he or she did X. Okay, that's fine. Now, if he or she did X, the next question to ask is, well, can you change what happened? And the answer is always no. And if you can't change what happened, why are you so angry and frustrated about it right now? If you're living in the past, it's going to make your future that much more difficult. So the question is, why are you angry? Try and identify this. The next question is, can you change what happened? And then the third most important question to ask, is this anger helping or hindering me and those around me? Because one thing I do know, it ain't going to be helping anybody, least of all you. And as happened with Jim and his family, he's hurting those around him. He's alienating his true friends, those who quite frankly have his best interests at heart but ain't going to put up with the BS that he's telling himself. and he's just surrounding himself with, quite frankly, people who are not going to help him at all. So is this anger and resentment helping or hindering? And then the next question is, what can I do about it? How can I begin to move beyond this? And yes, you may need to forgive people. Sometimes when we're angry about things, the people that have hurt us don't even know they've done it. And unfortunately, it's up to you to try and explain. Because in doing so, it will help you to heal. But if you hang on to all of this, I promise you, it's not doing you any favours. As I said, it's like drinking poison and expecting someone else to die. It ain't gonna happen. And in the words of Yoda, anger leads to hate and hate leads to suffering. And that suffering is going to be you. So I would urge you, if you're harbouring anger, resentment, bitterness, deal with this. Ask yourself these key questions. And if you've got questions of me, or you want some help, or you want some, me to point you in the right direction, please just ask in the comments below. But that's it. Don't harbour these horrible, horrible feelings and resentments. They're not going to do you or anyone else any favours.